to A-level politics at Prince Henry's Grammar School. This video has been designed to give you an introduction to what the course involves and what you can do to prepare for your studies in September. So what's interesting about domestic and international politics at the moment? Well, there's loads going on, and the very nature of politics is that we are constantly studying events as they occur and linking that to the theory that we learn. So at the moment, there's the Black Lives Matter protests which are going on in both America and in Britain, and where people are starting to question the ways in which different groups are being treated and whether or not laws are being applied in the same way. And we will look at both an American context and a British context, where we're also looking at the role of press groups and how they can influence policy making decisions. We've also got the COVID-19, and we'll be looking at how the government responds to that. How has the government been accountable? How has it reported to the people what it's doing? What are the different roles of the cabinet ministers who've been involved? So lots of issues relating to that which we will be studying. We're also looking at the role of special advisors, and that's why there's a picture of Dominic Cummings there. He's particularly controversial because he's introducing a lot of reforms within the government, but he was also found to have broken the rules in terms of quarantine when family members were suffering from COVID. So we'll look at that relationship. We're also going to look at the Brexit negotiations. That's what type of relationship does the current government want with the EU once the transition period is over, and how are they reporting that to Parliament, to the public? So issues in terms of accountability, and also looking at terms of future trading laws and the legal precedents that's going to come. We've also got Keir Starmer and Boris Johnson. Keir Starmer is the new leader of the opposition and the Labour Party. He's picked up a party which did historically badly in the last election, and how can he build Labour up to potentially be a party of government in the next election, which is obviously the Labour Party's aim. But he's got a lot of challenges, that the party's divided. Some consider them to be hard left and the centre MPs. Also the underlying issues of anti-Semitism, which led to the sacking of Rebecca Long-Bailey recently as Shadow Education Secretary. So there's a lot of things going on, and this is what makes politics particularly interesting. So let's have a look at who's going to be teaching you. So there are two teachers in the politics team. That's myself, Mr. Lowe, and Mr. Day. We will both teach aspects of the British unit, and Mr. Day will also teach the US politics unit, and I will teach the political theory, political ideas section. So why study this? Well, politics is seen as an academic course by universities. This is because it requires you to develop writing and analysis skills, and be also to be able to use contextual case studies, and ideally up-to-date ones, so it shows that you can follow events and you're able to apply it to your theory. It also helps you to understand how our system works, the British political system, the various inputs and outputs, and what role you have within that system. And what's also really good about this course is you get to compare it to alternative and different political systems. In our case, the most powerful democracy in the world, the United States. So hopefully this is a course you're going to find interesting. On your screen at the moment, you can see a whole list of the type of careers that studying politics can help lead to. There are multiple other ones as well, and I'm not going to go through all of them, but I'm going to let you have a look and sort of see what type of career you could lead to if you go on to study politics at university, or even if you just leave it at A-level. So, the structure of the course. We study the AQA politics course rather than the EdXL one. So make sure if you buy any resources, that you are using AQA endorsed ones, not Edexcel. They are different courses and they require different skills. As I alluded to earlier, there are 3 units, Unit 1, Unit 2 and Unit 3. Unit 1 is Government and Politics in the UK. Unit 2 is Government and Politics of the USA and a comparative element. And Unit 3 is Political Ideas. Each unit is worth the same. And you have a 2-hour exam for each one. And if you look at the bottom of the screen, you have 3 9-mark explain and assess questions, a compulsory 25-mark essay question linked to a source, and a 25-mark essay style question. It is the same structure for each of the units. This means that you are practicing your exam skills all through the course, and you do not need to learn different styles and approaches for each exam. So how will your course run in Year 12? Well, Term 1 will focus purely on British politics, where you'll look at the Constitution, Parliament, Prime Minister, devolution, Judiciary, and then we'll move on to Term 2, where you will also do British politics, elections and referendums, political parties, and you'll also pick up the US politics section. So you'll start looking at the US Constitution and Congress. Okay, this mirrors what you started on the British politics side, so that you can start developing your comparison skills. We'll continue in Term 3 looking at British politics by looking at the political parties, press groups and the European Union. And you'll also continue to look at the US politics by studying the President and the Judiciary. In Year 13, you'll pick up your political ideas section. We'll start looking at liberalism, conservatism and socialism. And in the US politics section, you'll be looking at elections and political parties. In Term 2, you'll finish off your political ideas by looking at feminism and begin your revision. Whereas the US politics, you'll finish off your course by looking at pressure groups, civil rights, and doing some revision on the UK and US comparison. Term 3 will purely be on revision and preparing you for your exams. So what can you do to prepare for September? Keeping up to date with current affairs. On the screen, there are a load of links which you can use to read about what is happening. This is really, really important because you want to be using up-to-date case studies to back up your arguments. The exam board want that. And if you're looking for high grades, you're going to need to be using them. So something I suggest you can do is to keep a weekly diary or blog of what's happened. Okay, so in September you can bring a list of things which we can discuss and you can put into your notes and potentially use for your essays when necessary. Understanding the political parties in the UK before you start will be really helpful. So I'm going to suggest that you do a little bit of research and you find out who the leader of each of the main parties are, what are their main policies at the moment, and what number of seats do they have in Parliament. And a little bit of background research like this will help you start the course really, really well, because you're going to have something to talk about, and you'll also recognise some of the language that we're using. Likewise, do a little bit of research into the Democrats and Republicans in America. We're coming up to the presidential elections. There's going to be loads and loads of coverage in the news, particularly due to the nature of the candidates, especially Donald Trump as the Republican candidate, and all the issues which relating to COVID, and in terms of the Russia reports, the Russian involvement in the last election. So there's going to be loads going on. So the more you can cover on that, the better. Ignore the number of seats in Parliament. You can change that to Congress. So let's move on. Another way to keep up to date with current affairs and understanding the system is to watch some really good programs that have been made about the system. So some of these are not the most up to date, but they explain what's happening and how the systems work. Particular favourite of mine is The Thick of It and The West Wing, but which you can find online on many of the sort of Netflix style services. Also, you can go to iPlayer, and the BBC has a really good catalogue of politics-related programmes, such as the Andrew Marr Show, which you can watch on a Sunday morning. There's things like Newsnight, Hard Talk, and also documentaries like about taking control of the Dominic Cummings story. So I'd really recommend that you try and watch some of these, just to give you a flavour of some of the topics which we're going to be discussing on the course. And finally, you can also look at some of these articles which I've put together. The links to these resources can be found on Firefly with the PowerPoint for the transition from year 11 to year 12. So if you want to do some reading, I would follow some of these links. So that is the end of the video. So I hope that this is giving you an insight to what the course is about and what you're going to be doing in September. If you've got any questions, please feel free to contact me. Thank you very much.